non-existent oil and gas and petrochemicals. And that would lead to a global economic crash that the world has never seen in the last century. It will be far worse than 1929. As soon as Trump starts targeting Iran's electrical power plants, everything on the other side of the Persian Gulf will be wrecked. And so my advice to people in these countries is to leave.
Hey everyone, hold on just a moment. This is one of those times you simply have to pay attention. Don't just scroll away because there's a lot to unpack here. Professor Marandi has made a very pointed statement regarding Iranian strategic intentions. No sugarcoating whatsoever. He spelled it out clearly. If the US decides to hit Iran's power grids or gas facilities, the fallout won't be restricted to that area. It's going to ripple across the Persian Gulf, targeting energy setups on the opposite shore. Oil and gas? Not just dented, completely halted. And when that happens, it's not just a local issue anymore. It rapidly becomes a global affair. Costs soar, supply chains constrict, and the ramifications reach far and wide, from energy to daily expenses. But he didn't stop there. He advised residents of Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain to pack up and go immediately. Not later, today. That's not just idle chatter. That's a calculated message, broadcast loud and clear. It's not about stirring fear. It's about making a point about repercussions if certain boundaries are overstepped. Whether you concur or not, it demands attention. Because in such a volatile region, impacts don't stay put, they spread. And if you're pondering the effect on you, just check out gas prices. That's often the first indicator. On this channel, we're not about ignoring significant events like this. We delve into them, scrutinize them, and focus on what truly matters. So if that's your cup of tea, hit the subscribe button, give a thumbs up, and stick with us. Now, let's dive in.
And in the coming hours, if Trump decides to strike Iran's critical infrastructure, Iran will force them to pay a price beyond their imagination. Iran is prepared for all-out war. It has not shown its true power yet. It is holding back. And all those family dictatorships in the Persian Gulf, in Qatar, these proxies of the regime in Washington, the Emirates, the Bahraini regime, the Saudi regime, the Kuwaiti regime, all of them, every single one of them, they are complicit in this war. They assisted the United States in slaughtering Iranians. They've been assisting the United States for all these years in all their wars, whether in Yemen or whether in Iraq. When they invaded Iraq, these countries, these regimes, they had funded Saddam Hussein in the 1980s. They gave him hundreds of billions of dollars. But when their masters in Washington told them to turn against Saddam Hussein, they did so immediately. So these regimes will pay the ultimate price within hours. As soon as Trump starts targeting Iran's electrical power plants, everything on the other side of the Persian Gulf will be wrecked. And so my advice to people in these countries is to leave tonight, because we don't know what this madman in Washington wants to do. He is completely irrational. He is moody. He has mood swings. He says one thing now, and he'll say something completely different in an hour from now. So we have no idea where he's going to go, but we're prepared for the worst. And we've already shown him that.
This is the turning point where deterrence shifts into psychological warfare. Pay attention to the wording. My advice to individuals in these countries is to leave tonight. As a journalist, it's crucial to scrutinize the intention behind this statement. Mirandi isn't merely addressing military leaders, he's sidestepping them to directly communicate with the people and the expatriate workforce vital to the Gulf economies. If you can provoke a mass flight of employees and inhabitants from Doha or Dubai tonight, you've effectively crippled these nations without a single act of aggression. He's leveraging the mood swings in Washington as a rhetorical tool. He's portraying the Gulf regimes as associating with an unstable and unpredictable security partner, while Iran declares itself prepared for the worst. It's a calculated move to suggest that the American alliance is more of a burden than a protection. The real question to consider is, at what point does cautioning civilians become a strategic ploy to disrupt a region from within? Let's dive back into the video.
The Iranians have already shown him that. When the Israeli regime struck Iran's critical gas infrastructure with the consent of the United States. Trump is lying that he didn't know. The U.S. did know. If he personally did not know, that just shows how ignorant he is. But when they struck, Iran immediately hit back very hard, and Trump was forced to back off because he knows what this means. So if they strike Iran's critical infrastructure, that will be the end of oil and gas in the Persian Gulf. And the same is true for the regime in Baku, which is a close ally of the Israeli regime. Their oil and gas will no longer be exported in the near future. So Trump has to be very careful, because if this happens, then it no longer matters if the Strait of Hormuz is opened or not. If there is some sort of agreement, there will be no more oil or gas or petrochemicals and no ships to take those non-existent oil and gas and petrochemicals. And that would lead to a global economic crash that the world has never seen in the last century. It will be far worse than 1929. And the world will know that this is Trump's doing, and it is all for Zionism. And if anyone asks, why is Iran striking back at these regimes? Because without their support, without giving the U.S. their airspace, without giving the U.S. their territory, without allowing the U.S. to fire missiles from their territory on a daily basis, there would be no war today. So they are fully complicit. And Iran did not start this war, and Iran did not start striking infrastructure. Everything that Iran has done till now has been in retaliation. So hopefully the madman in Washington, someone will force him to comprehend that the price that he will pay for this is beyond imagination. But Iran is prepared. Iran will not back down.
All right, let's hit the brakes for a moment, because what was just discussed wasn't off the cuff, nor was it a TV drama act. This was a carefully crafted declaration. Every word was meticulously selected, every caution strategically placed, and those truly intended to hear it aren't watching TV snippets at home, they're in decision-making rooms. Now, here's the crucial point for everyone to grasp. This isn't a matter of feelings, it's about the stark reality of cost. At its core, deterrence is straightforward: make the repercussions so undeniable, so significant, that the opposing side hesitates before making their move. And what we just listened to was precisely that, a consequence clearly outlined. The message? Targeting Iran's central infrastructure, electric plants, gas facilities, will not trigger a tidy, proportionate answer. Instead, it will spread. It will ripple across the Gulf. Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain. Every key energy point in the region suddenly becomes part of the mix. Let's not fool ourselves into thinking this is merely a local issue. As soon as that infrastructure is compromised, oil and gas don't merely slow down, they cease entirely. When that occurs, the ensuing shockwaves don't dutifully remain on foreign shores. They manifest everywhere. Gas prices, they soar. Supply chains, they constrict. Food production, it suffers. Transportation, it slows down. Essentially, the gears powering modern life all feel the strain simultaneously. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. And this aspect often goes unnoticed. The notion that the Gulf states are simply passive onlookers in this scenario, it's convenient, but it's not the perception from the other side. When military strategies depend on bases, airspace, logistics, label IT support, or just hosting, it's viewed as involvement. And in conflict, involvement comes with its own price. Now let's address that leave tonight alert. I can already guess how some will react. Oh, it's just rhetoric, just scare tactics. Sure, if you choose to disregard it. But if you truly pay attention, it conveys something very pointed. It recognizes that once infrastructure in crowded regions is struck, civilians will experience it rapidly. Power outage during extreme heat? That's no longer strategy. That's a humanitarian emergency. So whether the warning aims to safeguard people or pressurize governments or both, it's not random. It's deliberate. And then we come to what might be the most perilous aspect of all, unpredictability. Here's a seldom admitted truth. Deterrence is effective only when both sides understand each other. When decisions appear erratic, when signals fluctuate hourly, that's not a tactic, it's instability. And instability in a scenario like this, it's a breeding ground for miscalculations, and misjudgments lead to escalations faster than anyone's anticipations. Now, Let's take a step back and examine the economic ramifications for a moment. This is where folks often fall short of grasping the gravity. This isn't just about shelling out a bit more at the gas station, it's about entire systems crumbling together. Energy interlinks with everything: food, manufacturing, transport, power supply. Disrupt that across the board simultaneously, and it's not your typical recession. It's a shock, not the kind you bounce back from in a few months, the kind that impacts every household, every business, every industry all at once. But here's the thing I want to articulate clearly as someone sincerely concerned for this nation. Being patriotic doesn't equate to oversimplifying matters. It doesn't mean rooting for escalation as if it's some game. Real fortitude lies in grasping the entire panorama. Real strength is knowing the stakes before making a move, not afterward. We've witnessed this pattern before: Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya. Grand decisions, bold stories. Then years pass and we still grapple with the fallout. So perhaps, just perhaps, it's worth posing a straightforward question before progressing further. Have we really assessed the cost this time, or are we merely presuming it'll pan out again? Because what was conveyed here wasn't about instilling fear, it was about outlining the consequences. It was about painting a picture of the next phase if certain boundaries are breached. And once those lines are trespassed, there's no easy reversal, no neat closure, no quick resolution. Thus, the true inquiry isn't whether people agree with what's being said. The genuine question is whether it's resonating with those who must acknowledge it. Because when all's said and done, it's not the headlines that hold significance, it's the decisions steering them. And the ramifications of flawed judgment, that's a burden everyone will eventually bear. Now, if you're here for genuine analysis, where we slice through the noise, challenge the narrative, and earnestly contemplate what's being communicated, you're in the right spot. Subscribe, hit that like button, and stay engaged. Because we're not merely reacting over here, we're truly observant. And this is just the beginning.